Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Hello students, I'm your teacher for today, Mrs. Princess G. Moscacaleja of Santa Rosa National High School. If you are watching this virtual discussion, I want you to comment your name and the time you watch this video so that I can monitor if you already watch it. Okay, so go and get your modules and let us start this discussion. Okay, let's now proceed to the presentation. Again, I am your teacher for today, Ma'am G of Santa Rosa National High School. Our discussion will focus on the following learning competencies. So at the end of the lesson, you will be able to describe the different methods to determine the age of a stratified rock. This is our Melc 13. Explain how the two dating methods were used. This is our Melc 14. So these are the different learning competencies that you're going to attain after the discussion. How scientists work. As a scientist or geologist, they were able to use their different senses for their observations. We have here the sense of touch, taste, sight, smell, and hearing. And for now, I want you to become one and answer this. Which came first, chicken or egg? Okay, some of you might answer chicken, others might answer egg. Chicken in the sense that without chicken, no one will lay egg. Egg, because if there is no egg, there will be no chicken. Both of your answers are correct because without both of them, still there will no be chicken. But how did geologists come up with the records of the past events? Take note, that was the time when technologies we have today are not yet available and even humans do not exist. How did they know which came first or which came last? That is by determining the age of stratified rocks. They were able to use two methods. What are these two methods? I have here a Porpix 2-word application. Are you familiar with this app or are you playing this? If yes, so let us go and find the two methods used by the geologists. This is the first method. What do you think is the answer of this method? So we have here calendar, family. We have here your relatives and they are dating. Okay, very good. So the first method is the relative dating. What about for the second method? Very good again. So you got it. That is the absolute dating. So geologists use two methods in determining the age of rocks, and that are the relative dating, and the absolute dating. Let us start with the relative dating. When we say relative dating, these are the places, events of rocks in their chronological order of occurrence without knowing their actual ages. So we are only talking about the chronological order and not their actual age. Example, look at this family. Can you put the family members from oldest to youngest? Okay. Grandparent gonna be the oldest, absolutely, of course, because she is a grandma. And we are not sure who's next to the oldest. Is it mother or father? So let's just guess that father is next to the oldest. The next is the mother, the older sister, and the brother. So we just arrange the family members from oldest to youngest using their relative ages. This is also true to the relative age of the rocks. If you're a geologist, you're going to arrange the family members from oldest to youngest, wherein the oldest member of the family is at the bottom and the youngest member is at the top, which is also the same thing to the rock layers. The oldest layer is placed at the bottom and the youngest layer is at the top. Next is the absolute dating. Absolute dating, a method of determining the numerical age of rock using radioactive decay. So in this absolute dating, we are talking about the numerical age of rocks. Age of rock is the number of years since the rock was formed. Example, 358 to 360 million years ago. So, in this part, we are talking about numbers and answer the question, how old is the rock? So, as you can see on the illustration, the rocks are arranged based from their ages. So, we have 545 million years ago. This layer is the oldest and the youngest layer is 495 million years ago. So, that is for absolute dating. To sum it up, we have relative dating, determining the fossil or event which came first, second, third, etc. While absolute dating is determining the actual age of rock using radioactive decay. Take note, for relative dating, it answers the question, which is older? While for absolute dating, it answers the question, how old is the rock? How old is the fossil? I have here a example and I want you to comment in the comment box your answers. The trilobite fossil is older than the dinosaur tooth fossil. So this is very good. A relative dating in the sense that we are talking about how old is the dinosaur or how old is the tooth fossil. And the answer is the dinosaur or the trilobite fossil is older than the dinosaur tooth fossil. Next, the trilobite fossil is 489 million years old. The method being used is very good. Absolute dating in the sense that 489 million years old is in numbers. So that is the actual age of the trilobite fossil. Next, I have here two cars, the red car and the silver car. If I say the red car costs $90,000 and the silver car costs $15,000, what method is being used? Very good. It is the absolute dating. Since $90,000 and $15,000 are in numerical form. Next, if I say the red car is more expensive than the silver car, the method being used is relative dating. So, absolute dating and relative dating are the two methods used in identifying the age of rock or events or even the fossils. To sum it up, absolute dating, we are talking about numbers or the quantity. Relative dating, we are only talking about the chronological order or the sequence of events. We also have here the principles of relative dating. Nicolas Steno is considered to be the father of stratigraphy, and he is a Danish pioneer in both anatomy and geology. Take note, he is also a Catholic bishop. What is stratigraphy? Stratigraphy is the formation of rock layers or strata. Rock layers is also the strata. Aside from being the father of stratigraphy, he was recognized on his principles of relative dating. He was very popular on his work in geology. And his principle includes 4 principles. We have original horizontality, superposition, cross-cutting, and the principle of inclusion. Let us start on the principle of original horizontality. Layers of sediments are originally deposited horizontally. Those strata that are found not in horizontal order may have been deformed by the movement of the Earth's crust. So in this principle of original horizontality, it is stated that the bottom part or the strata that found on the bottom part is the oldest and at the top part is the youngest. So if we were able to arrange the different stratas in chronological order, one as the oldest, this will be 1, 2, 3, and 4. So as you can see, 1 is placed at the bottom, which is the oldest, and 4 is at the top, which is the youngest. This is the principle of original horizontality. Next principle is the principle of superposition. It states that each layer of sediment is piled on top of another layer, making one on top of the strata, the youngest one, while the layer at the bottom of the oldest of the strata as the oldest. This is also the same on the principle of original horizontality. The only difference is their structure. So, this one is an example of superposition. Again, 1 is placed at the bottom. This is the oldest, followed by 2, 3, and 4 as the youngest, which is placed at the top. The best example of the law of superposition in the world is the Grand Canyon. So as you can see, this one is the actual picture of the Grand Canyon. And we have here the different compositions of the different stratas or the rock layers of the Grand Canyon. So we have here Supal Group, Hermit Shale, Coconino Sandstone, Toro Formation, and the Kaibab Limestone. So if I were to ask you, which among the different rock layers is the oldest? Very good. So the oldest is the Supal group. What about the youngest? Okay, very good. The youngest is the Kaibab limestone. So this is an example of the law of superposition. Next law is the law of cross-cutting relationship. It states that an igneous intrusion is always younger than the rock it cut across. meaning the one that cut the layer is younger than the one that been cut by that layer. Okay, example of is this one. So if we were able to arrange in number the chronological order of the different layers, this will be, first is we're going to follow the principle of original horizontality, 1 as the oldest. So we have 1 followed by 2, 3 followed by 4, and the one that cut the layer is definitely the youngest. So that is the principle of cross-cutting relationship. Example is this one. So as you can see in the illustration, the one that cut the layer is the youngest. Okay? Another one in the cross-cutting relationship, we have 2 types. We have the first one is the extrusion and the intrusion. When we say extrusion, a lava that cooled and hardened in a surface is called an extrusion. So see this one. This one is the lava that cooled and hardened, meaning it is younger than the layer it cut. So we call that one as extrusion. Next is, if a magma cooled and hardened beneath the surface, we call that one as intrusion. So again, this one is the cooled magma, and it is younger than the layer in its surrounding. So that are the 2 types of cross-cutting relationship. Next is the law of inclusion. The rock that mix up in the formation of sediments are called inclusion. So in this part, in the inclusion, if rock or rock fragments are included within another layer, the rock fragments must be older than the rock they were embedded. Meaning, the rock fragments are older than the rock itself. Example is the pebbles in this conglomerate are older than the conglomerate itself. Why? So see the different pebbles there. They are older than the rock itself, in the sense that the conglomerate itself forms new type of rock, and those pebbles are older than the conglomerate rock because we form another rock. Okay, so that is under the principle of inclusion. Again, what are the 4 types of, or the 4 principles of relative dating? We have the principle of original horizontality, principle of superposition, principle of cross-cutting relationship, and the principle of inclusion. So those are the different principles of relative dating. Next is we also have unconformity. Unconformity is a gap in the record caused by erosion or pause in deposition. Sometimes they are called breaks and bends. Okay? So that is unconformity. In unconformity, we have 3 types of unconformities. First type is the nonconformity. Horizontal layers of sedimentary rocks overlie older igneous or metamorphic rocks. So in this part, nonconformity, metamorphic or igneous rocks are on the bottom part, and we have here sedimentary rocks on the top, wherein sedimentary rock is cited to be the youngest and metamorphic or igneous rock is the oldest. So that one is nonconformity. Next is disconformity. Develops when horizontal rock layers exposed and eroded and new horizontal layers of rocks are deposited on the eroded surface. The layers on either side of the boundary are nearly horizontal. So, as you can see in this portion, the rock layers is being eroded. So, we call this one as disconformity. The last type of unconformity is the angular unconformity. It develops when new horizontal layers of rocks form on top of older rock layers that are folded by compression. And when erosion stops, a new horizontal layer is deposited on top of a tilted layer. So you can see the horizontal layer after an erosion. Okay, so these are the three types of unconformity. Next is the absolute ages of rock, or the absolute dating. We have here a process called radiometric dating. Radiometric dating, radioactive isotopes found in fossils or rocks are used. We have carbon-14 is used to determine the age of fossils, meaning this carbon-14 only used in organic compounds. While uranium-238 is also a radioactive isotope that is used only for determining the actual age of rocks. So these are the two types of radiometric dating. Radiometric dating also use radioactive materials in rocks as geological clocks. So they base these radioactive minerals or isotopes in determining the actual age of the rocks. Let us start with the radioactive decay. Radioactive decay is the process by which an atomic nucleus of an unstable atom loses energy, and it uses different types of decay. We have alpha decay, beta decay, and gamma decay. In this radioactive decay, we also have what we call half-life. Half-life is the period of time it takes for a substance undergoing decay to decrease by half. So this is for radioactive decay. Next decay is your carbon dating. So in radiocarbon dating, they use radioisotope, which is carbon-14 with a half-life of 5,730 years, is also used in dating remains of plants and animals. Example is we have here a turkey. The turkey is butchered and one of its leg bone is fashioned into bone owl. We also have here a corn. The corn plant absorbs carbon during photosynthesis. The turkey consumes carbon when it eats the corn. Carbon is absorbed into all its tissues, including its bone. As soon as the turkey dies, the carbon it absorbed during its lifetime begins to decay at a known rate, releasing radioactive carbon-14 from all its tissues, including the bone owl. Archaeologists find turkey's bone owl during excavation and put it in the radiocarbon laboratory, wherein radiocarbon laboratory measures how much carbon-14 is left in the bone owl to determine when the turkey died, and this will be their basis to determine how old is the turkey. So that is all about the absolute dating. In absolute dating, we have radiometric dating, radioactive decay, and radiocarbon dating. So we already attain the most essential learning competencies in this discussion. I hope you learn a lot. So let us go now to our activity. Relative versus absolute. Identify the following terms if it is relative or absolute dating. Put a check mark if it is relative or absolute. So let us answer this one. Principle of horizontality. What is it? Relative or absolute? Okay, so we have relative dating. Half-life. Very good. It is absolute. Unconformity. Yes, relative. Superposition. Nice. Relative. Radiocarbon. Absolute. What about beta decay? Very good again. Absolute. Radioactive. Nice one. Absolute. Disconformity. Yes, relative. Nonconformity. Okay. Relative. Alpha decay. Absolute. What about from oldest to youngest? Relative. Using numerical age. Absolute. Very good. Carbon 14. Absolute. What about cross-cutting relationship? Okay, nice one. Relative. Last is isotope. Is it relative or absolute? Very good. It is isotope. So these are the answer in our activity. Very good. Next is for your performance task output and what I can do. You're going to make a video and your micro teaching. Your objective is to conduct a micro teaching and the different methods in determining the age of rock. And our deadline will be November 15, 2020. That is on Sunday next week. We have here your criterias for the rubric. Content of the lesson is 50%, confidence is 30%, and the physical appearance or your attire is 20%. Total is 100% or 100 points. Hope you learned something. Thank you.